Hey guys, this is Nick with PhoneArena, and we just updated our iPhone to iOS 9. There is actually quite a lot that this new software brings. For example, we're getting a better Siri experience, there are now more powerful searching tools, there is transit in Apple Maps, and for those who have a recent iPad model, there is proper multitasking and an improved keyboard. But what else does iOS 9 bring to the table, and how well have its features been executed? Let us take a closer look. So this is iOS 9 and it looks very familiar, to say the least. Almost everything is pretty much as it used to be in iOS 8. The home screen, the control center, the notifications haven't really changed much. One thing that is new, however, is that lock screen passcodes are now 6 characters long instead of 4, which makes them more difficult to crack. There is one more difference, and it's a very subtle one. iOS 9 uses a new font. Helvetica Neue, which iOS 8 used, has been replaced by a new font called San Francisco. Some of us here at the office do like the new font better, some of us don't, and others cannot really see a substantial difference between the two. But whether you're happy with San Francisco or not, you still have the option to adjust its size or to make it bold so that it stands out better. iOS 9 also adds a bunch of new wallpapers, including new dynamic ones. But apparently they will come only with the new iPhone 6s, as they aren't available on our iPhone 6. Oh well, at least we got some new sweet looking static ones. And this is what Spotlight Search looks like in iOS 9. What's new here are the app suggestions that show up. These are apps that you use frequently, but can also be apps that you use at that particular time of the day, which is pretty clever. We must also mention that search now can include results from third-party applications. Let's say that you are searching for pizza. You may get the result linked straight to your favorite cooking application. And speaking of searching, this is the new search screen, which is placed permanently to the left of your first home screen. On one hand, it feels redundant having this new screen and Spotlight Search at the same time. On the other hand, this new screen can do more. For instance, people you contact often are listed here. You will also get news suggestions and recommendations for nearby places, all based on your preferences, location and time of the day. Just be aware that these suggestions only work in some parts of the world. Siri has learned several new tricks. She is now aware of variables like your location or the content that you are viewing. As a result, you can now ask her to remind you of things when you arrive at home, for example. You can also ask her to set a reminder based on a message or a web page that you are currently viewing. And you can ask her to display photos that you took at a specific time and location. These new options may come in handy and work reliably. In addition to all that, iOS 9 is made to be proactive. What this means is that it will try to anticipate your needs. For example, if you launch the same application each morning, a shortcut to it will appear right at your lock screen. If you're getting a call from an unknown phone number, iOS will check your mail in search of who that might be. Now let's take a look at News, which is a new application that comes with iOS 9. In a nutshell, it is a news aggregator. You give it the topics that you are interested in and select the publications that you would like to follow. The app will then put together a news feed based on your preferences. And the app works fine. Text is easy to read, you can view images full screen and play embedded videos. However, we did run into some issues, such as formatting errors and blank areas where videos were supposed to be. Although these could have been glitches caused by the publication's code, not by the app itself. Either way, they don't sound like something that cannot be fixed with a simple patch. The Notes application isn't new, but it has been updated and the improvements should prove useful. The app now includes the option to add drawings to your notes. You have a selection of pens and colors to choose from, and a ruler for drawing straight lines. Also, content from other applications can now be easily turned into a note using the Share menu. This works in Safari, in your Messages application, in Apple Maps and other places. What's new in Apple Maps is the addition of transit. Public transportation now appears layered on the map. Routes are color-coded and labeled, which is nice, but what we really appreciate is that station entrances are marked for you. When using transit to get around, you are provided with clear step-by-step instructions on where to go, with an estimated time for different sections. Buses, trains, subways, even ferries are supported. The fine print here is that transit is only available in a handful of major cities at this point in time, but we're expecting it to spread out quickly. iOS 9 also comes with an upgraded on-screen keyboard. Letters of the keyboard finally changed between upper and lower case, which should make typing more convenient, especially as you enter passwords. There is more to the updated keyboard, but the rest of its new features are coming to iPads only. One of them is the trackpad mode. Hold down 2 fingers and swipe to move the cursor around. There are also convenient shortcut buttons for cut, copy and paste, as well as buttons for formatting options. But the really big change coming to iPads is the addition of multitasking. If you have an iPad Air 2 or newer, you will be able to enjoy split-screen multitasking in supported applications, both active at the same time. Some of the older iPad models will only get the new slide-over feature. Think of it as having a peek at a recently used application without entirely leaving whatever you're working on in another application. Speaking of multitasking, iOS 9 supports picture-in-picture. So if you're watching a video, for example, you will be able to leave the video playing in a small hovering window while working in another application. iPhones won't be getting any of these multitasking features. What they will get is this new app switcher, which we have mixed feelings about. It looks pretty, but the application icons are now smaller, you cannot see the whole snapshot, and the list of applications goes in the opposite direction. Oh well, it's something that we'll have to get used to. The iOS 9 update adds a number of new features, but it is supposed to improve performance as well. There does seem to be a slight boost in performance on our iPhone 6 unit, even though synthetic benchmarks cannot really confirm this. We ran a few tests on an iPhone 6 running iOS 9 and on a unit still on iOS 8.4. The results were mixed. Some tests indicated an improvement in performance in iOS 9, other tests returned higher scores in iOS 8.4. Some tests gave us identical results. iOS 9 also brings improvements to battery life and a new low-power mode. When active, this low-power mode reduces screen brightness, limits performance, and manages the device's connections more aggressively to save power. It is a very useful feature as it can prolong your usage time significantly when you're away from a charger. And before we wrap things up, we must also mention that iOS 9 is more efficient when it comes to the use of storage space. Or at least that is the theory. When you download applications in iOS 9, only resources relevant to your particular device should be downloaded. But comparing the space used by identical applications in iOS 9 and in iOS 8 showed no difference whatsoever. Perhaps apps need to be updated before the optimizations take effect. So this is the new iOS 9. It isn't revolutionary by any means, because many of the features that it adds have been around in one form or another. It isn't flawless either. You see, we're not entirely sold on that new app switcher. It feels kind of redundant having 2 very similar search screens at the same time, and that news application still needs some work. Besides, it feels kind of disappointing that we cannot yet feel the supposed optimizations in the use of storage space. But on the other hand, Apple is a company that is very quick when it comes to polishing those rough edges of its software, and that is why we have a feeling that iOS 9 is going to show its full potential very soon, maybe in a patch or 2. And besides, most of the new features in iOS 9 have been executed pretty well. That goes for the new multitasking experience on the iPad and the transit routes in Apple Maps. And besides, we're very happy to see that Search and Siri are now more useful than ever. That said, enjoy iOS 9, and if you want to learn more about Apple's latest software, just check us out at PhoneArena.com.